Part 3 of verifying the date format of an input string, validating the data type. In this video, we will validate or determine whether the data contained in the input string is numeric or integer data. So now we move on to the second function that we need to consider to solve this problem. We need to determine if the string contains the right kind of data. So how do we do that? Well, I think the most straightforward way, now that we know the structure of the string is correct, namely it's 2 characters followed by a dash, followed by 2 characters, followed by 4 characters, we can now use string slices to extract the 2 characters that should represent the month, to extract the 2 characters that should represent the day, and finally the 4 characters that should represent the year. And in each of these cases, we need the data contained therein to be integer data. So once again, we want to write a function. Does the string have the correct data types? It's going to be true or false, namely return a Boolean value. And of course, again, we need to consider the error reporting and how that will work after we write these functions and nest them in terms of overall control flow logic. Okay, so let's look at the code. So in our second function, which is really going to be a very short function just to determine if the data that's intended to represent the month, day, and year is integer data, namely it's of the appropriate data type. So let's write that function. So you can see here I'm constructing my 3 various slices that we just discussed, and I'm going to call the appropriate string method isDigit to make sure that each of these strings in turn contains only integer data. If the string, all 3 strings do, we return true. If either of these do not, then we return false. Simple, quick function to check all 3 substrings to make sure they contain the appropriate data type. Again, there are issues here, as previously mentioned, with the error trapping. If it's false, we can't say, writing the code this way, which is a simplistic way of writing it, you can't tell which of these 3 conditions is failing. Let's run a quick test and see what happens. So this is our base code that we wrote before. So now we want to do more. If is valid type, the function we just wrote, let's print, for now, the string has valid data. Otherwise, else, we want to print it does not. It does not contain the right type of information. Let's do a quick run to test this out. And before we do that run, let's correct the typo. Okay, so let's test the code. Let's take our basic code. We'll test if is valid data type. If so, we'll print yes it is. Else, we'll print the string does not contain valid date information. And let's run it and see. Let's test it on December 24th, 2000, Christmas Eve. The string has valid data. And again, as I said, our real issue in terms of providing useful information to the user who may be at a kiosk typing this in, if they make a mistake, here we have character data instead of numeric data. All we get is the string does not contain valid information. It doesn't, our error reporting isn't refined enough to say, hey, it was in the day component, not the month, not the year, but the day component contains the invalid data type. That's the decision we made in orchestrating the code this way. All right, very good. I'm Tim Sever. Thank you for joining me for this video installment. Like the video, comment below if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe for updates regarding videos on this channel.